And so the next thing is, therefore, in my mind's eye, a lot of the companies are becoming so powerful that they're a negative influence on people's lives, and there need to be something needs to happen. So, what is that thing that could happen? And I think we're going into a place. I say we, but the Hive community has proven. When it started up a year and a half ago, there's another company called Hive Blockchain Technologies listed on Canadian Stock Exchange, and they've got a famous guy, Frank, I forget his surname. He's on CNBC all the time. He's a fairly powerful guy, in the kind of legacy tech world, tech finance world. And he's a big deal. They're a mining company. They've got legit balance sheets and legit company, legit registration. Everything's on the Canadian Stock Exchange. And so when Hive started up, it was kind of a rush to kind of get this new blockchain fork out away from Justin Sun. And I think people didn't really do their research properly, fully, and just chose the word Hive, because it really is a Hive kind of thing, the way this thing works. And then a couple of weeks later, we were like, oh shit, there's this Canadian company called Hive Blockchain Technologies. They're going to have to come after Hive to defend their brand. And so they did. They did like 2 or 3 weeks later. They actually started serving. They actually started serving notices. And then they quickly realized that there is no company to serve notices to. There is no entity. There are no people. There is nobody. There is nothing. So they quickly kind of stopped doing it and were like, oh shit, what the like? And here's the lesson. The first thing is that is the first time that a brand has been unintentionally taken over by another community, and that original brand hasn't managed to defend itself. What's going to happen on Web3? Because it's a community, because you're trying to sue a community, you can't sue a community. It's like trying to sue a hive of bees. How are you going to do that? Whereas as we go forwards and we build out these so part of the foundations of the Speak Network will be the community element and the immutable community element to that. And you'll have your account outside the platform layers, so the platforms won't be able to touch your accounts or your communities or your followers lists. And as a result, what's going to happen? And I'm not necessarily saying it's going to be Hive and the Speak Network it happens on. It might be some other Web3 system, but a lot of them are centralized and regulatable, and people don't realize that yet. That will come to pass. But you're going to get anonymous, decentralized communities starting to work together and starting up a McDonald's token on a decentralized community that McDonald's cannot touch. And if McDonald's isn't quick to get its Web3 presence there and made and shown in force, they are going to lose part of their brand. That's and the NFT revenues that can be raised from that, the token market cap revenues that can be raised from that by the community themselves is insane. It's truly insane money. And so we are in a time where these brands, these corporations are starting to become fascistic, and the people have this ridiculous tool to just take them away and then potentially destroy them.
This is hilarious. Though.
It's hilarious. We're going into this age, and I don't think people have quite realized that this is what's going to happen. This is how one of the methods that people will use to get back at these corporations, I think, and to kind of take a little bit of their sovereignty back and just give the middle finger. And I think it's going to be a very interesting time. So what you'll see is you should see a rush of these corporations onto Web3 when they realize how at risk their brand is,
So this is why I always talk about, like, why don't Epic Games adopt NFTs for Fortnite? Why don't they turn V-Bucks into a cryptocurrency? Blah, 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 right? And you were just touching on that very thing. Well, the answer is control. You can just hear it in the board of directors meetings. They're going to lose control of it, right? But you're going to lose control of it anyway, because the community will just do it without you.
Join it,
right?
Join
so
it.
Either do it with involved or not. You got to join it, or someone else is going to do it, right? So you may as well be part of it.
This feels like, it's kind of a little bit like when movies and Napster kind of happen, but it feels a bit more like a solid case of the first time where these people are going to get dragged through the cleaning machine, whether they like it or not. And it's technology, but this will be kind of for the better, but maybe that'll happen some way for the worse.
It reminds me of torrents when it first came out. None of these brands are hit privy enough to the technology of the branding. And what happened? You used to have to pay $16. You get 20 songs on a hard CD. That went to being able to get them for free. And what happened? They could bitch, they complained, but they couldn't stop it. Eventually, YouTube came out and they had an ad revenue. It's like, well, you're going to watch it for free anyway. We have to find a way to make money off of it. And that's the future. Now 99 cents gives you unlimited songs, yada, yada, yada. And I see the same thing happening with brands. All these billion-dollar brands that have that logo that's just their backbone, and without it, they would crumble. And if they don't get on Web3, you're going to start to see communities rough them up. You've already seen it sort of with fast food punks, right, with the McDonald's logo. You saw Wendy's, I believe, come out with some sort of joke, Wendy's punk. right? You see, like some of them are getting in, but the ones that are late, which is going to be most of them, and the reason is they're big fat cows. They don't want to take the risk, and they're already like, we're on top of the game. Let's not have to deal with regulation or crypto this or whatever. And then they'll be last to the field, and they're the ones that'll be feeling the brunt of it. But when you have billions of dollars and you're on top, you feel like you're untouchable, and a lot of them are going to be in for a rude awakening if they don't make the transition quick. It's literally a blockbuster event if they don't make the switch to Web3. It is a completely different internet. It works in a completely different way. They are two separate entities, and if you don't make that leap, you are as good as brick and mortar in 2021.
Right. It's not even like you can do it retroactively. Like in Web 2, you used to get cyber squatters, they called them, people who would register Nike.com and McDonald's.com before the big corporations had got their web strategy sussed. Well, they were able to retrospectively like approach ICANN and network solutions and all of the government level DNS databases and say, oi, that's our intellectual property, yank it. And they did, right? But you can't do that with decentralized domain names. You can't do that with Hive IDs. You just can't do it.
Yep.
Exactly. And
the onslaught will begin.
And this is it. Like you say, retroactively, you can't do it. Why? To give an example would be, once one of the CME, the CME stock community, the kind of the punks on Reddit that have realized that they can
Wall Street
locate short squeezes and Wall Street bets and those guys, right? Once they realize that they can start doing this with brands, right?
Oh my God.
And you get a Nike, right? And they do Nike, right? They make millions of dollars off Nike NFTs just because they've managed to fool people into thinking it's really Nike. Right? There's no recourse, there's no nothing. And then they could even go as far as to short the stock and destroy the brand of Nike via that same method. And there's all sorts of terrible things that they can do. And the thing is, Nike can't recover from, like you just said, it's retroactively. Nike can't come along and say, hey, sorry everyone, we're a bit late to the party, but we're here now. The damage is already done,
True.
So it's going to be very interesting, very interesting.
Wow.
And I'm assuming that that in itself is a whole new industry right there. You're going to get people specializing in doing this. How do they do it? How which movers and shakers do they get involved, and how do they manage to stay anonymous? How do they make sure that the communities are decentralized so the SEC can't come after them? It's going to be very interesting, very very interesting times. I'm very excited about it. Not that I particularly wanted. I'm not here to destroy brands or anything. I'm not. I just think that.
Oh no, you're not. No, it's not a judgment. That's an observation. Like you just see this happening, and you're not encouraging it. You're just saying, look, that's the difference between seeing where this is going to happen, right?
Yeah,
See the evolution.
To me, I almost feel like the reason I like to say this stuff is because we are being ignored, right? Especially Hive. It's partly because there are no centralized entities behind it. There is no big fucking stakeholder that owns like 20-30% of the supply that's going to benefit off the price going up. So there isn't like a big advocate out there for Hive. And there's a lot of other Web3 solutions coming along, and nearly all of them are regulatable to some way or centralizable in some way. And so for me, it's nice to sit here on our little corner of the internet and say, brands, this is a warning to you. It's a friendly warning, right? Come join Web3 now before your brands get taken over, right? It's like, so I feel like it's a helpful word, but at the same time, I know that this word isn't getting out because we're so heavily shadow banned in so many places that, like, yeah, okay, so fair enough. You shadow banned us. We tried to help you, and you couldn't hear us.
Well,